The smell of old paper and dust hit Alina Martinez like a wave as she pushed open the heavy oak door of Whitmore and Associates. The law firm's waiting room looked like it hadn't been updated since. 1987 burgundy leather chairs with brass studs, wood paneling that had gone dark with age, and a receptionist's desk that could have doubled as a battleship. Ms. Martinez, a woman in her 60s, emerged from behind the desk, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. "I'm Margaret Whitmore. Thank you for coming on such short notice." Alina shook the offered hand, noting the firm grip and the way Margaret's eyes assessed her. At 32, Alina had grown accustomed to being underestimated. Her petite frame and youthful face often made people assume she was younger and less experienced than she actually was. "Your letter mentioned an inheritance," Alina said, settling into one of the leather chairs. "But I think there's been a mistake. I don't have any wealthy relatives." Margaret smiled, the first genuine expression Alina had seen from her. "Mr. Aldrich wasn't a relative, Ms. Martinez. He was your employer." "My employer?" Alina frowned. I work for Morrison Tech. I've never heard of anyone named Aldrich. It's because Ezra Aldrich owned the building where Morrison Tech rents office space. More importantly, he owns something else. Something he's left to you." Margaret pulled out a thick manila folder. "Miss Martinez, when did you last visit the basement of your office building?" The question was so unexpected that Alina almost laughed. "The basement? Never. I didn't even know there was a basement. The elevator only goes to the ground floor and the 3 office floors above." Margaret's smile widened. "There's a 4th floor, too, in a basement. Ezra Aldrich spent the last 40 years of his life making sure most people forgot about both." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the Aldrich collection, Ms. Martinez. One of the most comprehensive private libraries in North America. 23,000 volumes, including first editions, rare manuscripts, and books that most scholars assume were lost forever." Margaret leaned forward. "And as of yesterday, it's yours." The world seemed to tilt slightly. Alina gripped the arms of her chair, trying to process what she was hearing. "That's impossible. Why would a stranger leave me a library?" "Because you're not a stranger to him. For the past 3 years, you've been leaving books outside his door." Alina's mouth fell open. "The homeless man. The elderly gentleman who sat outside the Morrison Tech building every morning, reading battered paperbacks while commuters streamed past him. Alina had started leaving books for him after noticing he was reading the same torn copy of The Count of Monte Cristo for weeks." "Mr. Aldrich wasn't homeless," Margaret continued. "He was the building's owner, but he chose to spend his days outside, watching people, reading. He told me you were the only person who ever saw him as more than a nuisance to be ignored." Eyes filled with tears. She'd left books for the old man every week for 3 years. Mysteries, classics, contemporary fiction. She'd never asked his name, and he'd never offered it. They'd simply nodded to each other, sharing the quiet understanding of people who loved books. "He died last Tuesday," Margaret said gently. "Heart attack in his sleep. He was 91. "Wondered why he wasn't there this week," Alina whispered. Margaret handed her a sealed envelope. "He left this for you." Alina opened the envelope with trembling hands and unfolded a letter written in careful, old-fashioned script. "Dear Alina, you don't know me, but I know you. For 3 years, you've brightened my mornings with your gifts of books and your genuine smile. In a world where most people see only what's convenient, you saw a person who needed kindness. I am leaving you my library because I believe you understand what books truly aren't just objects, but doorways to other worlds, repositories of human knowledge and imagination. The Aldrich collection has been my life's work, but I am old and have no family to care for it. The library comes with a responsibility. Hidden among my books are 7 volumes that contain information powerful enough to change the world or destroy it. I have spent 40 years keeping these books safe and secret. Now that task falls to you. Trust no one completely, but don't try to bear this burden alone. You'll know the right people when you find them. The basement key is with Ms. Whitmore. The library is yours. But remember, you are now its guardian, not just its owner. With deep gratitude and respect. Ezra Aldrich P. S. The books you gave me are displayed in a place of honor. Thank you for seeing me." Alina looked up to find Margaret watching her intently. "Whitmore, what does he mean about 7 volumes?" Margaret's expression grew serious. "I was Mr. Aldrich's lawyer for 20 years, but he never told me about any special books. All I know is that he was obsessed with keeping certain information from falling into the wrong hands." She handed Alina an ornate brass key. "Whatever he's talking about, it's downstairs waiting for you." The basement of the Morrison Tech building was accessed through a door Alina had never noticed, hidden behind a maintenance panel in the parking garage. The brass key turned smoothly in the lock. Alina found herself facing a narrow staircase that descended into darkness. She fumbled for a light switch and gasped when the light screw revealed what lay below. The basement had been transformed into a magnificent library that seemed to stretch impossibly far in all directions. Mahogany bookshelves reached from floor to ceiling, connected by rolling ladders and narrow walkways. Comfortable reading chairs were clustered around antique lamps, and a massive oak desk dominated the center of the space. But it was the books themselves that took Alina's breath away. Thousands upon thousands of volumes, their leather spines gleaming in the warm light. She recognized immediately that this wasn't just a collection. It was a treasure trove of human knowledge accumulated over decades. Alina walked deeper into the library, running her fingers along the spines of books she'd only dreamed of seeing. A first edition of Frankenstein, an original copy of Newton's Principia Mathematica, what appeared to be a handwritten journal by Marie Curie, on the central desk. She found a leather-bound catalog with her name written on the cover in Ezra's careful script. Inside, she discovered not just a listing of the books, but detailed notes about their provenance, their significance, and their rarity. It was in the back of the catalog that she found what Ezra had been referring to in his letter, a separate section titled The Seven Guardians. The following volumes contain information that must be protected at all costs. Each book holds a piece of knowledge that, if misused, could cause tremendous harm. They have been scattered throughout the collection and disguised to appear as common texts. Only the true guardian will be able to identify them. 1. The Prometheus manuscript contains the formula for a revolutionary energy source that could solve the world's power needs or be weaponized beyond imagination. 2. The Genesis files. Detailed genetic engineering techniques that predate official research by decades. 3. The Oracle. Database, psychological manipulation. Techniques developed by government researchers. 4. The Pandora Protocol instructions for creating untraceable digital surveillance systems. 5. The Atlantis Archive. Evidence of suppressed historical discoveries that would rewrite our understanding of human civilization. 6. The Icarus Papers. Aerospace. Technology that could revolutionize transportation or create devastating weapons. 7. The Midas Collection. Financial algorithms that could manipulate global markets. Alina sat heavily in the desk chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she'd inherited. She was a software engineer, not a librarian or a guardian of dangerous secrets. How was she supposed to identify these 7 books among 23,000 volumes? Her phone buzzed with a text message from her boss at Morrison Tech. "Alina, we need to talk." "My office, first thing Monday morning." Chill ran down Alina's spine. Today was Friday. How could her boss know about the inheritance already? She looked around the library with new eyes, suddenly aware that she might not be alone in knowing about Ezra's collection. If someone at Morrison Tech was interested in her inheritance, it meant they knew more about the building's hidden secrets than they'd let on. Alina spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the library, taking photos with her phone and trying to understand the scope of what she'd inherited. She found the books she'd given Ezra displayed in a glass case near the entrance, each one accompanied by a small placard noting the date she'd left it for him. As evening fell, she reluctantly locked the library and returned to her apartment, her mind racing with questions and concerns. But as she prepared for bed, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Her apartment had been searched. Nothing obvious was missing. But Alina had spent years organizing her space with meticulous care. Books were slightly out of order on her shelves. Her computer had been moved a fraction of an inch. Someone had been here, looking for something. Alina grabbed her laptop and a few essential items, then left her apartment and checked into a hotel. Across town, whatever was happening, it was clear that inheriting the Aldrich collection had made her a target. Alina didn't sleep well that night. Every sound in the hotel hallway made her jump, and she found herself checking the door lock repeatedly. By morning, she'd made a decision. She needed help. She needed it from someone she could trust. She called her best friend, Sarah Chen, investigative journalist who specialized in corporate corruption. If anyone could help her figure out what was happening, it would be Sarah. They met at a small cafe in Chinatown, far from Elena's usual haunts. Sarah arrived looking concerned, her laptop bag slung over her shoulder and her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Elena, you look terrible," Sarah said, sliding into the booth across from her. "What's going on?" Elena told her everything's the inheritance, the library, the 7 mysterious books, and the break-in at her apartment. Sarah listened without interruption, taking notes on her phone and asking clarifying questions. "This is incredible," Sarah said when Elena finished. "And terrifying. You're right to be scared if these books contain the kind of information you're describing. There are people who would kill to get their hands on them. But how do I even begin to identify them? The library has over 20,000 books," Sarah smiled. "That's where you're lucky to have a friend who's obsessed with puzzles." Ezra Aldrich was clearly a careful man. He wouldn't have left you impossible clues. She pulled out her laptop. "Let me do some research on him while you think about what you've seen." As Sarah typed, Alina closed her eyes and tried to visualize. The library, careful organization, the way certain books seemed to be placed with special attention, the subtle differences in how some volumes were shelved. "Alina," Sarah said suddenly, "look at this." Sarah's laptop screen showed a newspaper. Article from 1962, "Local man saves rare books from fire." The article described how Ezra Aldrich, then a young librarian, had rescued valuable manuscripts from a burning research facility. He was a librarian, Alina breathed. And look at this part. He specialized in preserving books that contained sensitive information for various government agencies. Sarah scrolled through more articles. Here's another one from 1974. Aldrich testifies before Congress about the importance of preserving scientific research that was being suppressed for political reasons. The picture was becoming clearer. Ezra Aldrich hadn't just been a book collector, he'd been a guardian of suppressed knowledge, carefully preserving information that powerful people wanted to disappear. "Sarah, I think I know how to find the 7 books," Alina said suddenly. Ezra was a librarian. He would have used a system. "The books won't be hidden randomly. They'll be placed according to some kind of pattern." They returned to the library. Together, Sarah's eyes widening as she took in the scope of the collection. Alina led her to the central desk and showed her the catalog. "Look at this," Alina said, flipping through the pages. "Every book has a detailed entry except for 7. These 7 entries just say, 'See Special Collection Index.'" Sarah leaned over her shoulder. "But there's no special collection index in the catalog," Alina smiled. "No, but there might be one somewhere else." They spent the next hour searching the desk and the surrounding area. It was Sarah who found it, a thin volume hidden in a secret compartment in the desk drawer, bound in the same leather as the catalog, but unmarked. "The Special Collection Index," Alina read from the cover. Inside were 7 entries, each one cryptically describing the location of one of the Guardian books. "The energy of the gods lies with the poets of old. The secrets of life hide among the healers. The whispers of the mind rest with the philosophers. The eyes that see all watch from the towers of glass. The lost truths of the past sleep with the chroniclers. The wings of ambition soar with the dreamers. The golden touch lies heavy with the counters." "It's a riddle," Sarah said. "Each line corresponds to a section of the library," Lena studied. The clues, her mind working through the possibilities. The energy of the gods, that could be the mythology section. The secrets of life, medical texts. The whispers of the mind, philosophy. They split up, each taking different sections of the library. Lena found the first book in the mythology section, exactly where she'd predicted. It was disguised as a battered copy of Greek myths and legends, but when she opened it, she found not ancient stories, but detailed scientific equations and diagrams. The Prometheus manuscript, one by one. They found the other 6 books. Each was hidden in plain sight, disguised as an ordinary text, but containing extraordinary secrets. As Alina held the 7th and final book of fake accounting textbook that contained financial algorithms of staggering complexity, she felt the weight of Ezra's trust settling on her shoulders. "Alina," Sarah said quietly, "we need to talk about what happens next." Before Alina could respond, they heard footsteps on the stairs. Someone was coming down to the library. Alina and Sarah quickly gathered the 7 special books and retreated. To the back of the library, hiding behind a tall shelf of technical manuals, the footsteps grew louder, accompanied by voices. Sure, she's found them by now. Aldrich was too careful to leave them unsecured. Alina recognized the voice with a shock. It was David Morrison, the CEO of Morrison Tech and her boss. "Ayo!" "Man was cleverer than we gave him credit for," came another voice. "Hiding right under our noses for 40 years. Well, he's dead now, and the girl doesn't know what she's dealing with. We'll retrieve the books, eliminate the loose ends, and finally move forward with the project." Elena's blood turned to ice. They were planning to kill her. Sarah grabbed Elena's arm and pointed toward a small door at the back of the library marked "Emergency Exit." They crept toward it as quietly as possible, the 7 books clutched against Elena's chest. "Split up," Morrison's voice echoed through the stacks. "She's here somewhere." The heat sensors picked up 2 people entering the building. Elena's heart hammered as she realized they'd been tracked. She and Sarah slipped through the emergency exit, found themselves in a narrow tunnel that seemed to run beneath the building. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows on the walls. "This way," Sarah whispered, pointing toward a faint glow ahead. The tunnel led to another basement, this one beneath the building next door. They emerged into what appeared to be a storage room, filled with boxes and old furniture. "We need to get somewhere safe," Alina said, still clutching the books. "But where? If Morrison Tech has been watching me, they probably know about my hotel." Sarah pulled out her phone. "I have a contact at the FBI. Someone I trust." "Turn this over to the authorities." "No," Alina said firmly. Ezra's letter said not to trust anyone completely. If Morrison Tech has been after these books for years, they might have people in law enforcement too. They could hear sirens in the distance growing closer. Someone had called the police about the break-in at the library. "I need you to do something for me," Alina said urgently. "Take 3 of the books and hide them somewhere safe. Don't tell me where. If they catch me, I want to know that some of the information is still secure." Sarah took the books Alina handed her. Genetic research, the psychological manipulation techniques, and the historical evidence. "What are you going to do?" "Going to end this," Alina said. "Morrison and his people want these books because they think they can use the information for profit or power. But Ezra spent 40 years proving that some knowledge is too dangerous to exploit." Elena's phone buzzed with a text from Morrison. "Ms. Martinez, I believe you have something that belongs to me. Meet me at the Morrison Tech building in 1 hour, or your friend Ms. Chen will have an unfortunate accident." Alina showed the message to Sarah, whose face went pale. "They're threatening you because of me. No, they're revealing their true nature," Alina said grimly. "This isn't just about the books anymore. This is about making sure they can't hurt anyone else." Alina made a decision that would have seemed impossible just days ago. She was going to confront Morrison directly, but not as a victim. She was going to go as Ezra, Aldrich's chosen successor, the guardian of dangerous knowledge. Alina arrived at the Morrison Tech building at exactly the appointed time. But she didn't go in through the front entrance. Instead, she used her key card to access the parking garage, then made her way to the hidden door that led to Ezra's library. She'd spent the past hour preparing for this confrontation, and she wasn't coming empty-handed. Using her software engineering skills, Alina had spent 30 minutes photographing and digitizing key pages from the 4 books she'd kept. Then she'd uploaded the files to a secure cloud server with instructions to release the information. automatically if she didn't check in every 12 hours. If Morrison wanted to play hardball, Alina was ready to call his bluff. She descended into the library to find Morrison waiting for her, flanked by two men in expensive suits who were clearly private security. Morrison looked different than he had in the office. Gone was the friendly CEO facade, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Ms. Martinez," Morrison said, spreading his hands in a gesture of false welcome. "I'm sorry it's come to this, but you've stumbled into something much bigger than you understand." "I understand perfectly," Alina replied, setting down a bag that contained the 4 books. "You've been trying to get access to Ezra Aldrich's collection for years. You've probably bought the building specifically to get closer to it." Morrison's smile was sharp. "Very good. Yes, we've been interested in Mr. Aldrich's work for quite some time. The old man had access to research that could revolutionize multiple industries. Energy, technology, pharmaceuticals, the applications are limitless." "The applications are dangerous," Alina countered. "That's why Ezra kept them secret." "Dangerous?" Morrison laughed. "Ms. Martinez, this information could solve climate change, cure diseases, advance human knowledge by decades. Yes, it could also be misused, but that's true of any powerful technology. The question is whether we let it benefit humanity or let it rot in a basement." Alina studied Morrison's face, looking for any sign that he actually believed what he was saying. She found none. This was about money and power, nothing more. "Show me the books," Morrison continued. "All 7 of them." Alina unzipped the bag and removed the 4 books she'd brought. "These are the only ones I found." Morrison's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me." "Aldrich's files indicated 7 volumes. "Then maybe your information is wrong," Alina said calmly. One of Morrison's security men stepped forward. "Sir, we could search her." "That won't be necessary," Alina interrupted. "Because I have a proposition for you, Mr. Morrison." She pulled out her phone and showed him a screenshot of the cloud storage system she'd set up. "I've already digitized the most important information from these books. If anything happens to me, it gets released to every major news outlet, university, and government watchdog organization in the world." Morrison's face darkened. "You're bluffing, You said yourself that this information could revolutionize multiple industries. Imagine what happens when it's released for free, available to anyone with an internet connection." Lena smiled. "Your competitive advantage disappears overnight, you stupid girl," Morrison snarled. "You have no idea what forces you're dealing with. There are people who will kill to keep this information secret, and others who will kill to get it. You're painting a target on your back." "The target was already there," Elena replied. "You made sure of that when you broke into my apartment?" Morrison looked genuinely surprised. "We didn't break into your apartment." A chill ran down Elena's spine. If Morrison's people hadn't searched her apartment, before she could process this revelation, the lights in the library suddenly went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. "What the hell?" Morrison began. The distinctive sound of multiple sets of footsteps echoed from the stairway. Someone else was coming down to the library, and they were heavily armed based on the metallic clicking sounds Alina could hear. "FBI," a voice shouted from the stairway. "Everyone put your hands where we can see them." Alina raised her hands, confused but relieved. Morrison and his security team did the same, but Alina could see fury in Morrison's eyes. A team of federal agents swept into the library, their weapons drawn and their movements precise. Alina recognized the lead agent from news reports agent Rebecca Torres, who specialized in corporate espionage cases, Lena Martinez. Agent Torres approached her with her weapon lowered. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Alina said. "But how did you know your friend Ms. Chen contacted us?" Agent Torres explained. She provided some very interesting evidence about Mr. Morrison's activities. Elena felt a surge of gratitude toward Sarah. Her friend had come through when it mattered most. Agent Torres turned to Morrison. "David Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy, corporate espionage, and attempted theft of classified materials." "This is ridiculous," Morrison protested as the agents cuffed him. "A legitimate businessman. This woman is the one who's stolen valuable research materials that were legally bequeathed to her," Agent Torres replied. materials that your company has been trying to obtain through illegal means for over a decade. As Morrison and his men were led away, Agent Torres turned back to Alina. Ms. Martinez, we need to talk about what happens next. The FBI debriefing took place in a secure conference room at the federal building downtown. Alina sat across from Agent Torres and a team of specialists from various departments: computer crimes, industrial espionage, national security. Let me make sure I understand the situation, Agent Torres began. You've inherited a collection of books that contain potentially dangerous information, and multiple parties are interested in obtaining that information. That's correct, Alina replied. But I need to know who broke into my apartment if it wasn't Morrison's people. Agent Torres exchanged glances with the other agents. We believe it was a foreign intelligence service. Your inheritance has attracted attention from several governments that are interested in the research contained in those books. Alina felt the weight of Ezra's warning settling even more heavily on her shoulders. This was bigger than corporate greed. This was international espionage. What happens now? She asked. That depends on you, Agent Torres said. The federal government would like to take custody of the dangerous materials, study them in secure facilities, and ensure they don't fall into the wrong hands. And the rest of the collection would remain yours, of course. We're only concerned with the materials that pose a national security risk. Alina thought about Ezra's letter, his warning about trusting no one completely. Even if the FBI had good intentions, government agencies weren't immune to corruption or poor judgment. I need time to think about this, Alina said. Agent Torres leaned forward. Ms. Martinez, I understand your reluctance, but you're not equipped to protect this information. You're a software engineer, not a security specialist. There are people who will keep coming after you until they get what they want, maybe Alina said. But Ezra Aldrich protected those books for 40 years without the government's help. He must have had a reason for keeping them private. After the debriefing, Alina was escorted to a safe house while the FBI continued their investigation. She was allowed to call Sarah, who filled her in on what had happened. I've been digging into Morrison Tech's financial records, Sarah explained. They've been hemorrhaging money for the past 3 years, investing in research projects that haven't paid off. They were desperate for a breakthrough, and they knew about Ezra's collection. How did they know about it? Corporate espionage. They've been monitoring communications around the building, tracking anyone who seemed to know about the hidden basement. When you inherited the collection, they realized their opportunity was slipping away. Alina thought about the 7 books, the incredible secrets they contained. The energy technology alone could revolutionize the world's power systems. The genetic research could lead to cures for diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries, but it could also be weaponized. Sarah, I need you to help me with something, Alina said. Can you research the current state of the research topics covered in those books? I want to know how close current science is to rediscovering this information. Sarah worked through the night, compiling a comprehensive report. When she presented it to Alina the next morning, the findings were illuminating. Most of this research is only 5 to 10 years ahead of current scientific knowledge, Sarah explained. The energy technology is the most advanced, but there are already research teams working on similar approaches. The genetic engineering techniques are sophisticated, but not impossibly so. Alina studied the report carefully. So we're not talking about keeping these secrets forever. We're talking about controlling how they're released. Exactly. The question is whether they're released responsibly or recklessly. Alina made her decision. Alina called Agent Torres and requested a meeting at the FBI office. She arrived carrying a leather briefcase that contained her proposal for handling the Aldrich collection. I've made my decision about the 7 books, Alina announced. But I have conditions. Agent Torres raised an eyebrow. You're not really in a position to make demands, Ms. Martinez. Actually, I am, Alina replied calmly. The books are my legal property, and I have a plan that serves everyone's interests. She opened the briefcase and pulled out a detailed document. I'm proposing to establish the Aldrich Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the responsible release of advanced scientific research. Agent Torres read through the proposal, her expression growing increasingly interested. You want to create a panel of experts to evaluate each piece of research and determine when and how it should be released to the scientific community. Exactly. Representatives from the FBI, the National Science Foundation, major universities, and international research organizations. The foundation would study each piece of information, assess its potential benefits and risks, and develop plans for responsible disclosure. Alina leaned forward. The energy research, for example, could be released to selected research institutions with the funding and ethical oversight necessary to develop it safely. The genetic research could be shared with medical institutions that specialize in rare diseases and the more dangerous materials, to be held in secure storage until the scientific community and society are ready to handle them responsibly. But they wouldn't be hidden forever. They'd be preserved for future generations who might be better equipped to use them wisely. Agent Torres was quiet for a long moment, studying the proposal. This is actually quite sophisticated. You've thought through the legal, ethical, and practical implications? I had a good teacher, Alina said, thinking of Ezra. He spent 40 years learning how to be a responsible guardian of dangerous knowledge. I'm just building on his work. There's one problem, Agent Torres said. The foreign intelligence services that are interested in this information won't be deterred by a foundation. They'll keep coming after you. Alina smiled. That's where the second part of my plan comes in. She pulled out another documenta. Detailed agreement with the FBI for ongoing security cooperation. The Foundation will work closely with federal law enforcement to ensure the books are protected. In exchange, I'll testify against Morrison and any other parties who have tried to obtain the information illegally. Agent Torres read through the security agreement, nodding approvingly. This could work, but it's going to require approval from multiple agencies. I understand. Both Deji and Torres, this is the right approach. Ezra Aldrich spent 4 decades proving that some knowledge is too important to be controlled by any single government or corporation. The Aldrich Foundation ensures that these discoveries will benefit humanity without being weaponized or monopolized. 3 weeks later, Alina stood in the basement library that had become the most secure private research facility in North America. FBI security specialists had installed state-of-the-art protection systems, and the Foundation's first panel of experts was reviewing the energy research from the Prometheus manuscript. Sarah arrived carrying coffee and a stack of newspapers. You made the front page of the Science Times, she announced. The article calls you the librarian who changed the world. Alina laughed. I haven't changed anything yet. We're just getting started. Morrison's trial starts next month, Sarah continued. The prosecutors say your testimony will be crucial. Lena nodded. Morrison and his associates were facing serious federal charges, and 2 foreign agents had been arrested trying to break into the Foundation's offices. The message was clear. The Aldrich collection was under serious protection. Alina, Sarah said more seriously, are you sure about this? Running a foundation, dealing with international security issues, managing dangerous research, this is a huge responsibility. Lena looked around the library at the thousands of books that represented humanity's accumulated knowledge. In the center of the room, the 7 Guardian books were displayed in a secure case, their secrets slowly being revealed to the world in a careful, controlled manner. Ezra chose me for a reason, Alina said. Not because I was the smartest person he knew or the most qualified. He chose me because I saw him as a human being when everyone else saw him as invisible. He trusted me to understand that knowledge belongs to humanity, not to any individual or organization. Lena's phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Patricia Valdez, the Foundation's Director of Energy Research. Alina, you need to see this. The first prototype based on the Prometheus research just generated clean energy at 400% efficiency. We're going to change the world, Lena smiled and showed the message to Sarah. See, we're just getting started.